Hello, good morning, good evening. How you guys doing tonight? This morning? I don't know wherever you are, but thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. This is Astrano, and I'm here. We're missing a few people, but it's okay. You'll be here again. Today we're going to talk about a couple things: mass hypnosis, television, and their impact on your health.
Yeah, mind control, all of it, language, symbolism, how all of these things really impact us. And yeah, sometimes we overlook these things, right? Because it's like the simplest thing seen over and over, like a symbol, right, can really impact us. And it's used against us, it's weaponized against us, like a lot of these systems. Um, yeah, just welcome to January, guys, because this is going to be an intense month. We're going to go through all of the aspects of life around us, of society around us, whether that's the education system, healthcare system. Today, we're talking on mind control overall, how people get into this state of mass hypnosis and why we're seeing that outside of ourselves right now on a very large scale. I think it'll really help you guys to have an understanding. Maybe you have some of an understanding already, so we can kind of have this conversation together. But we can then take that out into the world and have that knowledge of why some people are under this spell of mass hypnosis right now. Well, they're with, the media intake, with just the propaganda of the news. And we can have more compassion for these people, right? We can have more compassion of understanding why they could really be in these subtool states of being asleep. So excited to be here, and we've got Grace with us here today. You want to say hi, Grace?
Hello, everybody. So excited to share this. This is, a very big topic. And, electronics, the laptop, the phone, it's around us all day, every day. So I think it's really important that we recognize its effect on our body, on our mental state, on our vibration, because it can play a big role into why we are experiencing, disharmony in our lives. So it's empowering once we see that we have, the power. We do have the power, and it's up to us whether we want to change, how often we're picking up our cell phones, how often we're staring at the TV screen. So, yeah, we want to put the power back into your guys' hands, and that's why we're talking about this today. So, yeah, super excited to get into all of this amazing information.
Yeah, and just like Grace said, we're going to give solutions at the end of the video because we know this month of why we are starting off this month of January with bringing awareness to the systems around us, to the sickness in society around us, is that it is really the first step in healing, is becoming aware of why, like it's kind of like a fish in water, right? You've got to figure out, oh, like I am really actually traumatized. I'm a traumatized being. They try to normalize this within, you'll see, they try and, they put that in the media all the time, the normalization of trauma, the normalization of all of these, being cool is, or being bad is cool. All of these things, these subtool things to try and, desensitize the society and the individual to the fact that, like, oh, it is totally normal to feel anxiety, to feel depression all the time, to work like crazy and hate life and, be in these crazy systems. So the first step is becoming aware that there are these deep wounds and traumas within. And so that's why we've got to have these hard conversations about the reality amongst us. And we will bring in these solutions, and this is why we're here. This is, what Bloom Astrano is, the healing that we've all been doing that's working, and that's helped us, heal these really deep societal wounds and individual wounds within ourselves. So we're here for you. We know these are hard conversations to have, but we've got to have them, and let's have them as a community, as a collective, so that we can be strong together and really support one another through the awakening process. So does anybody want to say anything on this before we get started?
One thing though, I just wanna multiply the importance of what you said about having that awareness, and also that normalization of the trauma and the negativity. It's I see it as well, all over the world. They make it such a normal thing to be such a negative person. If they make it cool to be like this bad person, and it's like it's time to shed that and enter into a new world, so.
Yeah, exactly. Even the like mental health aspect, right? We will talk about that this month, so stay tuned. But we'll talk about the healthcare and the mental health and how they like to put the band-aids on and pretend it's normal that you have depression, and we just have to manage it and deal with it our whole lives. That's not true. And we can help you through that process. I know that might be hard to hear for some people who have had it their whole lives, right? But it's a beautiful thing that we can heal that, okay? And we will help you guys do that. So yeah, when it comes to mind control, mass hypnosis, the first thing to understand with TV, right? So TV's kind of come into the picture in the 1900s, right? Mid 1900s, and then we see TV, Netflix really blow up. I think we were the first generation, I think, our age group to really have Netflix at, a teenage age, where I was like I think I was probably like 14, 15 when my whole family started to have Netflix, and we were like, oh my God, we can binge all day, and that's when that really came into the picture at that age for me. And so, yeah, we're the first kind of generation to like have that come in when we were, still like really absorbent of and learning who we were and stuff like that. So I definitely experienced the ramifications of, having that influence in my life and, being drawn to the TV, having that access to watch TV instead of, go experience the world and go and hang out with friends and go and be in the organic reality. The TV brings it's an AI frequency, right? It's a technological frequency. These things are tools, but we have taken them way too far in society. We've become addicted to them. There is a lot of sickness that sprouts and comes from being, on these screens for way too long. And so the mass hypnosis comes because when you are, in society working really hard all the time, society grooms you to work and have to work a lot to, survive, to be in this survival state of high beta brainwaves. So high beta brainwaves are going to be that state that you're in when you're go, when you're working. Most of the population is in high beta pretty much all day until they're going to sleep, or they're watching TV, because after a minute of watching TV, you switch to alpha brainwaves. And alpha brainwaves are this meditative state. It's more of a natural state that we're all meant to live in. It's more calm. And you're also very suggestible when you're in that state. And that's the key there, is that when you're in this alpha brain state, finally relaxing from your day, I can sit down, I can get in front of the TV, and automatically my body's going to go into alpha. So people are getting a lot of relief from that process. However, that's when they're bringing in the mass mind control, and you're hypnotized, you're already in that trance state, suggestible state, for them to start really programming you. Okay, so it's really important to understand what's happening on a scientific bodily level when you're watching TV.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's so true, because I even catch myself doing that. If I come home from work and I'm exhausted and I kind of just want to like zone out, it's so easy to be like, okay, I'm going to turn on the TV, or I'm going to go watch, a YouTube video. And I guess too, it's about what you're consuming, because if you're going to go on YouTube and watch like a video of something that's informative, that's kind of different. But, because we're so used to turning on the TV and having it be, like a lot of the times these TV shows, like you're saying, Alyssa, like they're filled with like drama or like killing, like violence has become so normalized, especially with video games. Like it's insane. And, yeah, it's so important to be like conscious of what we are consuming, because especially when we're trying to relax, because yeah, like you're saying, we are just completely absorbing it. We're like sponges, and yeah, we have to be careful.
Yeah, and also, guys, like I heard this the other day and it's just crazy, but apparently there's companies out there that are trying to now push TV, and they've made TV programs, okay, for babies 6 months and up. So that's how young they're trying to bring in this, trance-like mind control, mind hypnosis state, where they're going to start programming what they want you to act like, what they want to program into you. And it's just so sad to see that, because kids are meant to be in this organic reality, right? Like they should be out in nature most of the time at those young ages, learning from nature, absorbing like the creation itself, like the creation that God created, right? Which is all of these natural aspects of life that we're meant to be living within and absorbing and learning from, because nature can really teach us everything. These TV shows, these movies that we're just, mindlessly putting our children in front of, like, not to say that it's not bad to, you have your adult time, let your kids watch an hour of movies when you need some adult time with your partner, or whatever that looks like. The problem sets in when we start to kind of extend that hour to 2 hours, and then 3 hours, and then 4 hours, and all of a sudden our kids and all of these beautiful organic creations, these babies, are absorbing way too much of these programmed movies. So the screen time alone, even if they weren't bringing in this mind control aspect of, trying to influence you and suggest you, into certain, ways of life, belief systems, etc., even if these movies are positive, the screen time is still negatively affecting us, just because of just because of the frequency waves of these devices and how their impact on our bodies and their impact on our ability to think, right? Those young ages for children are when their minds are growing, are sprouting, they're absorbing, they're learning how to critically think, how to be an individual, how to live, how to, do all of these beautiful things that life requires us to do. And so we're really stunting their growth when we are bringing in this TV aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so insane that like they're doing that. Hey, 6 months to 2 years old, and it's crazy. And also one of the things that I see is like when you have a kid and you just put them in front of the TV, they're losing connection to nature and to their own self, because they start living in these realities that is in front of them, and essentially it's just the light, like it's just pixels, it's not real, it's just illusions. And yeah, I've definitely fallen into that for some time, where I would kind of imagine this and that, and I think the problem is that when it's too much, because a little bit of it's good to get that inspiration, and to to inspire you and really open your mind a little bit. But if too much of it, then that's when it gets destructive.
Exactly. And I've noticed that in my life, and I'm sure you have, Ken, because that brings me to, I did a social media detox at one point. And I really highly recommend everybody to just, even do a mini version and just do it for a week, to just experience like how different life is. Like, you will be absolutely shocked. I was absolutely blown away. I'm not a huge scroller social media type where I'm consuming a lot. And when I fully just took all my social medias off my phone for a week, my mind started to heal instantly. I started to have deep thinking like all day long, like noticing these thought pathways start to activate again, where I was really feeling like a part of, life and connection, and the ability to think was just like, I was blown away. I was like, how does me just being on social media here and there like, and then me taking that away, how does that create all of this, beauty and ability to deep think just by that? So it shows you the destructive nature of social media, even, in small doses. We really should only have maybe one period of the day where you allot that. Okay, this is when I'll maybe go get my scroll time in for like 5-10 minutes, and that's it. So that your mind can have the rest of the day to relax and into these deep thinking processes, and not have, that repetitive kind of reminder or alert system going off to check your phone.
Yeah, I was reading something about the serotonin chemical, or like the neurons in your brain, and where if you consume too much social media, you're flipping constantly, you kind of destroy that neurons in your head. I'm gonna type a link somewhere here that shows that video, but it really fascinates me because it just shows the impact that all these devices have. And for me, I'm grateful that I was able to grow up in an environment where when there was no social media. And I still remember what my day was like, and it was mostly being present, and it's mostly just being with friends and family and doing whatever I wanted to do in that day. Because with social media, it's such a black hole, like this thing, it's so powerful yet so destructive at the same time. It just depends on how you use it. But using like you can spend an hour here and it won't even feel like an hour. It could feel like minutes. That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah, that brings in the reflection and the understanding of hypnosis, right? Like if anyone's ever done hypnosis before, and I've done it once, and that's the first thing that the practitioner usually asks you when you come out is like, how long does it feel like it was? Because they want to hear the response of the client, because for me, it felt like 20 minutes and it was 4 hours. So that's the same with TV. You're getting in that same state with your phone. You can spend so much time on there and feel like it's been 10 minutes, but it's been an hour. And that's dangerous.
And the thing is, this is what this is from my understanding, right? You're putting all these energy into what? Into nothing. You're really just, it's just you're wasting your energy. You're wasting your precious energy into you scrolling, watching what people are doing, watching your whatever's happening in there. Social media has its perks. If you have a business and you want to share your product, whatever, if you have a service, it's really good for that reason. However, for personal reason, I don't think that you should be in there all the time sharing, like just consuming all of this. Create, and that's something that we'll talk about later on, consuming versus creating. Actually, do you want to touch point on that one, or?
Yeah. I heard that from one of the business mentors that I follow on Instagram, funny enough, but she teaches business coaches, and someone asked her the question, because she follows 0 people on Instagram, and someone asked her the question of like, why don't you follow anyone? And she wrote this long thing about how if you consume more, you create less. So she noticed if she was consuming and following a bunch of people and looking at social media and getting distracted, she was creating way less. So your creation output is a lot less if you're scrolling, if you're one of the consumers, right? So it's kind of a vice versa, one or the other kind of a union with those two things, creating and consumption. So we have to be really careful on, like, you're here to be a creator being. You're here to have creatorship. You came here with a purpose, with a soul mission. And all of these, like, we're addicted to distraction in this society. It's our new biggest addiction is distraction, right? Because they want us to be distracted too because of the traumas, right? We have so much trauma. So if we start taking away these distractions that we use, to cope usually, right? We have to start feeling the trauma, and that's really painful for people.
Yeah, and I think that's why most people would rather choose to be distracted than to be in that state of like experience of pain, because that's what happens when your mind is quiet. All the traumas comes out. And if they're not equipped with the tools to process that, then definitely they're gonna keep just watching movie, smoking that weed, drinking that whatever. And it's not that there's nothing wrong with that, whatever your opinion on this, but I think a balance is key. But my point is, there's a lot of us out there that avoid facing all these emotions. We run away from our own emotions because for whatever reason. But actually, if you just sit down with your emotions, it's just you don't even have to do anything. Sometimes you just have to sit down and feel them. However worse, however bad they may be, just feel them fully and accept them. Accept that you're feeling it in this moment. That alone can help that emotion pass through you.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and, if you can kind of, when you're dealing with trauma, as, this is coming up, so we'll talk about this quick. Like King is saying, if you can kind of separate yourself, if you feel something really uncomfortable coming up in your body, the first thing, this was kind of like the first thing I learned in my healing journey of really how to deal with our inner child and wounds, is separate yourself and come to it as your soul or as the parent of that wounded part or that wounded child. If you can separate yourself, then you don't get consumed by it. So you come as a parent, as a loving parent, as you would treat your child, so that you can stay in love. You can stay in love while also feeling that emotion and talking with that emotion and dealing with that energy in the body. And this is really important because you need to be able to anchor the loving frequency at the same time. And then we can start to mend, and mix these frequencies and eventually alchemize, the lower frequency when it's ready to fully let go. It's going to kind of churn back into your true self, back into love. So you can do this. You're strong enough to do this. And we're going to teach lots on Astrano's channel how to deal with wounds so that you guys feel confident, so that we can get away from these distractions, which are, it's kind of like, it's not just a distraction that's affecting you negatively in just that way of just being a distraction. It's also feeding you a lot, like we're talking about the mind control aspect. They're bringing in a lot of really bad messaging around, keeping you distorted, keeping you fragmented. They want to fragment you in every which way they can. That's how all the systems are built, is to fragment the mind, to fragment the being. So they are so confused. So they have no idea why they're here, who they are. So they have no understanding of the true mechanisms of reality, right? Because then you're at their whim, right? Then you're a victim and you can't really move from that position very well back into the true reality. So it's really important for us to detox from these things and find our strength again to bring love back into our lives.
Yeah, because you become a slave to the system, if you're not able to really detach from all of that.
And it's really sad because we're seeing a lot of the younger generation, right? Like me and King are, in our 25-ish at this point in our lives. So we're watching the new generations come up, and they've come up with, like, I don't know about you, King, but I got a cell phone when I was about 13, I think. So I was still pretty young, but there was no social media on the phones back then. Remember, we had the flip phones and stuff, which was, we were just I was texting all the time my friends on that thing. But we didn't have, at least there's a lot more to get distracted by these days, and there's a lot more for them to kind of influence us with. So we're really seeing the detriments of that within our younger generations, hey?
Yeah, I also, one of my mentors said, the youth are very lost. And I see it, everywhere I go. Kids are just on their phone. But I mean, for me, my thing on that is, I think that they're not knowing how to talk to the person in front of them. They're just locked onto the screen. It's kind of like we're turning into a cyborg, we already are. We most of us can't live without our phone. It's crazy. And it's just these kids, man. It's crazy. I feel bad sometimes, but I feel like that's where the world is going, and our duty here is to help them integrate that, and through them using that, put ourselves in front of these people. So hey man, hey little kid, meditate here, use this, because this is there's so many things that they can learn from one thing, but
no, that's so true, King. Yeah, because they're bringing, like, we're seeing really high suicide rates. Like, these are all the things most people would know about with kind of what's coming out scientifically around social media lately, especially, is there's really high suicide rates, right? We've got the promotion of sex in a negative way when it comes to the female. Okay, so that's really like causing a lot of degradation within the feminine energy, within feminine, population on Earth in general. More of like, being that sexual bad, kind of energy is normalized now. They're normalizing, like we're saying, the smoking, the drinking, drinking is in every TV show. It's like triggering you every 5 seconds. You see someone on that TV show you watch with a drink to like, go grab a drink. Or the cigarettes, we're seeing addiction just riddled and violence, like Grace was saying earlier. If they can create violence between us, if they can create violence on a planet, you're getting really far from your organic, kind of frequency when you're living in violence. So that's a really big one that they use, is the killing in the movies, the normalization of the evil villains in the little kids shows. That give off these really dark frequencies, even pedophilic frequencies. We've seen a lot of this demonic, satanic frequencies within even the kids, in the kids' movies, and it's all normalized. We don't think about the ramifications deep enough to change. That's a problem. Why aren't we thinking about it deep enough to do something about it? Not just like, oh, everybody does it, so it's okay. That's why we're in this mess on this planet at this time, and we need to have, take this more seriously. It's at least serious enough to do the deep work and figuring out what the true ramifications are, or at least taking some steps to, okay, how can I heal this within my family unit to a point where we can be healthy and happy and more free, than we are right now.
Yeah, because the beauty of this is it just takes one person in that family to heal, then that whole bloodline will be like healed again. Whatever, like if one person has a child and he's healed, then he won't be, and there's no more trauma to be passed on. That kid that grows up, he will be will be a genius or whatever. But I just have this belief in me that if you can heal yourself to the point where you have no more traumas, you're not living in fear anymore, and then you have children, that children of yours is going to be it's going to be built different. You're not growing up with fear, not growing up with all these false beliefs. Whew, that'd be powerful.
Exactly. And I'm just really feeling called to share this, guys. This is a little bit vulnerable for me because but it's relevant, and it's just my experience growing up. Like I said, I had a cell phone at 13. I was on Facebook at that age as well, like chatting with my friends on MSN. I'm sure lots of us can, remember those times. And I did go through a really bad period at about 17, 18. Before that, I was very social, fairly social, like especially when I was a younger kid. I was really social. I never had anxiety, never even really could understand when people were saying, oh, I have anxiety. I couldn't even really understand what it was because I had never experienced it. And then it was at about 17, 18, like King is saying, when we're at that age of, dating and getting out there and really like being face to face with people, I had this extreme anxiety, and it was really extreme. It got so bad to the point where even when I was around my family members, that was at its really peak bad, but I would have anxiety even talking to like my mom or brother, which was like really, really, like you've got to be pretty sick inside to be feeling anxiety with your beautiful family that, you're supposed to be connected with. And I do really think that a lot of that was from just the programming and the, addictions to the cell phones. And I would have no problem messaging my friends online and stuff. But when it came to eventually being on my phone enough, created this anxiety and this disconnect where if I was face to face with a human being, it felt, really scary to, communicate and connect in those deep ways. And it took a while for me to heal from that. I think there was other factors within there, like just, being a crazy partying teenager, having addictions. However, I do really think that the cell phones, like King was saying, really groom us to become more of an AI entity where we talk online. We're not organic humans. It dehumanizes us. So that when we are in those organic situations, it feels really awkward because we're already going through that process of dehumanization. And that can be a scary thing, but there is healing techniques for that. I have fully detoxed myself and healed myself at this point in my life. And with, techniques we will give you guys, and we will help you guys get through that. So I just wanted to give that silver lining that I was able to fully purge my anxiety over a span of about 2 years. Disconnecting myself from the technology as well as doing the healing practices.
So talking about the impacts of TV and being on our electronics, our phones, our laptops all day, I think it's important to talk about the field that we live in, because all beings have a vibratory field around them. Animals, humans, cars, nature, of course. And if every being has a field around them, it's interesting to acknowledge some fields don't connect, so there can be a lot of disresonance, and this is where disharmony in the body can come into play. If we are interacting with our phones all day and it is a totally different wave field than us, that creates disresonance in the body, and the body also, just by law of resonance, wants to connect to all things, and it wants to kind of create that harmony. So it will literally morph and adopt these frequencies and vibrations around it. So if you're around your laptop and your phone all the time, your body will start lowering its vibration and start trying to match the frequency, the vibration of what's around it. So if you're downtown all the time and you're, walking downtown and, the traffic, the hertz of the traffic is about 5 to 8 hertz, I believe. So that's a very low frequency, and that in itself can cause disharmony in the body. It can cause organs to start losing their proper function. It can cause chest pain, anxiety, depression when we start, recognizing that these things that we're around all the time, they really have a huge impact on the body and how the body functions. It's about taking our power back into our own hands and, recognizing that we can choose what we want our body to be filled with. And so, in contrast to, traffic and laptops, all this stuff being a low vibration and causing disharmony in our body, when we think about nature, sitting in the ocean, being in a beautiful field, being in the forest, these wave fields are a lot higher in hertz. They have beautiful frequencies and vibrations, and it creates health in the body. It creates vitality in the body. So we can put ourselves into action. We can take action and change how we are living our lives to create more joy, to create more expansion in the body, and to realign ourselves with what we want to be existing as, which is, a healing, joyful, happy being. And so, it's all about putting the power back into your hands and recognizing that, these things that we can change and do to, become more in alignment. And I'll share this other test that was done by Dr. Masaru. He, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but he did this test with water where he took water from a glacier and just running water, and he put it under a microscope, and he saw that the structure of the water was beautiful. It was like snowflakes and looked like crystals just growing out of each other. It was beautiful. And then he took water from a polluted space, and he put it under the microscope and saw, you know, kind of like this gross, crunched structure. And this really just shows that, you know, it has a big impact. Even if we can't feel it, the vibration around us, what we put around us, what we put into us too, it changes our body. And we are 70% water. So when you think that water is, you know, molecularly intelligent, we can think, you know, how am I speaking to myself? What am I putting around me? What am I paying attention to?
Oh, I was just going to jump in really quick, Grace, on what you just said. But like, this is just really coming up, and so that you guys understand. But I heard this once when I was studying like belief, like what brings belief in something, because I was struggling with, you know, believing in my big vision. And so I was studying belief really deeply. And the one thing I found, like the formula for belief is like repetition. And we've probably heard this with, you know, why you do affirmations and stuff like that. But they use this with the hypnosis of the news, right? Of instilling fear in people, of, you know, just this repetitious voice when you're in that hypnotic state of watching the screen is how they're getting stuff, is how they're getting people into this zombie-like state of not thinking for themselves and just, you know, kind of mimicking what they've been watching. And I just wanted to describe that as that was coming up, how, so you guys can understand why the people around you might be acting in that like really hypnotic state of just mimicking what they've been brainwashed with, and how that mind control fully works on that hypnotic level. And then also touching on the, you know, like the technology, right? So our phones and stuff, there's these things called biophotons, like Grace is saying, in nature. So trees and the sun give off biophotons. Biophotons is a living light code. Okay, so this is going to be a little less proven in science. However, it is still proven in science, the biophotons. But you get biophotons when you're out in nature, and that's like biophotons move information from cell to cell in your body. They tell your cells what to do, is kind of the function of a biophoton, a living light cell. Okay, and so when we're in too much dissonance around our phones, our computers, they kill biophotons. They destroy the environment of information traveling within you and disconnect your cells from knowing what to do. So that's another thing that causes the dissonance in the body and the disease in the body, is like your body is now not communicating. It is fragmented from itself.
I just wanna something. This is just coming up for me. So I was reading this book. I forgot the title, but it talks about the domestication of human beings. You know, and going back 500 years ago, 100, whatever, before modern world. You know, we used to live in nature, right? But now, in this modern world, when the baby is born, you know, by the time he could speak, he could figure things out, he's gonna be taken out of his home and then into an institution, into a school, and then until he then that's really it, you know, like from the day, like let's say 4 years old, from, you know, preschool, and then grade 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, and then college. And then from college, it's the same thing. You get a job. It's the same thing, 9 to 5. You know, you go to school 9 to 5. You go to, so that is the whole system. That's the whole thing that we're trying to deconstruct for you guys here. Is, you know, we want you to see that it exists, because for most people, if you're not aware that it exists, you just think, oh, this is life. Life is, I'm working 9 to 5. I retire at 65, and then I enjoy my life when I'm old. That's life. That is not life. Like, that is the created version that they want you to believe what life is, but it really isn't. Life is what you make it. But yeah, it's it just came out because it's so funny. Like, how did we not see it? You know, but it's like, you know, sometimes the powerful propaganda that they give us, you know, it's so powerful that sometimes we start to believe it, you know. And there's a saying, you are what you eat, and it's true, you know. You are what you eat. And you know, when you see something, you also consume it visually. When you hear something, you could consume it, you know, with your ear and stuff like that. You use your senses to absorb things. And yeah, all these media is, it can be very dangerous. So
Yeah, and I just wanted to say too, guys, like, as we're talking about this, to just bring it back to the core of healing, you know, like what we're all here for, right, is to heal. And for me, like, say I'm in maybe your position or maybe not, but if you're in a position where you're kind of a little, you know, over addicted to the phone or something, most of us are, you know, I'm guilty of scrolling every day for sure. Whenever you're wanting to change something, instead of using willpower, which is what a lot of us might do after we hear this, is like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, willpower through, you know, quitting social media, which is good. Like, set those intentions and quit the social media. But instead of just, you know, trying to fix the external reality and what's happening with this, you know, addiction outside of yourself, go inside the body after this talk and, you know, say, where in my body am I, you know, what am I trying to distract myself from? And go and do a little bit of the bringing in the love, bringing in that beautiful unconditional love into those spaces. Because I promise you, if you do enough healing work, these things outside of ourselves, these addictions, they will shift naturally, not from willpower, not from force, because we did the work and now it's just shifting with grace, with ease. Okay, so don't beat yourself up if you're in any of these positions of, you know, being stuck in some of these addictions to, you know, technology, because we're all there right now, and we're all working towards disconnecting ourselves from this transhumanism, dehumanization that is, you know, being overlaid on us all day long.
I think one of the things that I see healing is, it's like reparenting yourself like continuously, you know. It's like, oh, you know, like, hey king, it's okay, do this, do that. Ah, don't do that, don't do this, you know. It's a beautiful journey. It's like you get to see life on this panoramic view, you know. You like, you know, close your eyes and you see yourself, oh, that was the kid, me. And then, you know, you start to see like the different ages. And then it's really good, because I think that the more you heal, the more you see memories that might, you know, you might be afraid to go back because of the traumas. But the more you heal, the more you're capable of, you know, handling these emotions. So when you go back to these memories, you can heal them. And then, you know, when you heal that part, you might find something else. And, you know, you go back, and then, you know, we can go back to like ancestral, but that's different topic. But, you know, it's so cool. It's just so cool.
Powerful work, guys, and you will see the shifts, and reach out to us, because we can kind of help you build that healing system you'll need for yourself to detox from social media, to detox from the transhumanism agenda that's happening. I also wanted to make this point before we end here today, is that this is kind of for those who have awakened from the slumber, the mass hypnosis of the sickness of society. And you guys are experiencing and seeing this, you know, mass hypnosis happening outside yourself, whether that's with the, you know what, sickness going around right now, you know, just the polarity of this event that's happening worldwide, the asleepness of some, you know, that are, and then there's a ton of awakening. But this is just kind of a practice that I like to use when I'm speaking to someone who is kind of not there, right? We're talking like that true organic being is really disconnected in there. They've got a lot of rewiring to do to reconnect to the organic reality. So if you're dealing with a being who may be disconnected, okay, experiencing a lot of the false, you know, transhumanism or AI reality, if their soul isn't, you know, fully tapped in, or their human self is really fragmented at that point, the best thing you can do is obviously don't come from a place of polarity when speaking to them, but also speak to the true being in there, like speak to the soul in there. Okay, if you can practice that and do that with those around you, that's your best bet at trying to like bring that soul back out so that they can really tap in with the organic reality in themselves again, is to speak to that soul, that inner child, you know, the true essence of who they are, instead of speaking to the wounding, because we're just going to run around in circles if we're going to talk to people's wounding, and we're also going to re-traumatize ourselves and just, you know, loop and go through crazy pathways if we're going to fight with people's wounding at this point on the planet. We need to come from a space of compassion and love and really try to touch that soul in there, if possible. So I just wanted to make that point before we close off. So we're going to get through this. The healing work is key, as we've touched on here today, when it comes to these outer addictions. Instead of like, I think we really need to realize we're not trying to run from this reality. We need to alchemize, and we need to, you know, come from these, like Grace is saying, really bring our frequency up as high as possible. And then these lower frequencies don't have much standing when you have a really high frequency. You can live within this reality as it's shifting with much more ease, and it's not going to affect you in the same way. So let's not run from the reality. Let's just bring our frequency up and watch the outer reality shift as we heal ourselves. Well, much love, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We've got lots coming this month. We're going to be talking and breaking down all of the different aspects and systems within society that cause wounding, that cause trauma, that we are here to alchemize, heal, and shift. So it's going to be a, just jam-packed month here. So stay tuned, stay, stay aware, stay awake out there, and we're here for you. So love you so much, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Peace out.